We want to remind our men that a woman's journey is holy ground.
Mhm.
If that thought can sustain you to remind you that when you're frustrated in her journey, whatever part of her journey she's in, that you're walking on holy ground and that you men are called to be our protectors of our dignity, not to fix our discomfort. And supporting means listening, learning, praying, and just staying present. Hey, this is Mama Jane.
And this is Mama Vicky. Welcome to the Cycles and Sanctity podcast.
I'm a Billings ovulation method instructor and a certified Catholic mindset coach.
And I'm a labor and delivery nurse, an IBCLC, and a La Leche League leader.
We're here to share with you the beauty and the pain of your cycles.
Have you considered honoring your cycle throughout the journey of your womanhood?
Have you ever considered your cycle as a tool toward your holiness?
Well, sisters, it is. We're excited to walk this journey with you.
So go grab your favorite journal and pen and your hot beverage, and let's do this.
Hey, Catholic Divas, welcome back. Maybe you have your spouse with you because Mama Jane and I are very excited about our podcast today. It is holding her through it all, the Catholic man's role in her sacred journey. And we're both very passionate about this and can't wait to come in and talk about how men and women can work together from the start to the end.
Yes, absolutely. And like we talked about before, what the Catechism talks about is because of original sin, dominion and lust are the two disorders, the two sinful acts in a marriage that we have to fight against. Neither of us dominate each other, and that act of lust rather than love.
Yes, I just love the theme we're going with, the lifelong journey of womanhood, how men can honor, support, and walk alongside their wives through it all, from pregnancy to perimenopause. And, obviously, this doesn't fit the bill of every single relationship out there. Some of us get married later in life, this, that, and the other. But from whenever your start is, that's the youngest you'll ever be in your relationship. And that's, whatever stage that is. And sometimes we get both the husband and the wife can get confused, like, well, I want to go back and be that. There is no going back and being that.
I love that wherever you start in your marriage is the youngest you're ever going to be in this marriage.
Mm-hmm.
That is beautiful. That is a
So
really great thought.
there's no more, quote, clout if you got married out of high school, been together since you were 17, 18, or you didn't meet till you were 43. And you go from there. Either way, it has its challenges and ups and downs. And every way, no matter when you meet, a woman's body is guaranteed going to change. Men's bodies change too, but women's change pretty drastically.
Yes.
Mama Jane, especially, we can start with talking about premenstruation.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the thoughts that I've been thinking about from Steve's interview a few weeks ago is the fact that part of the problem with that septic tank that he talks about, like we are in this poisonous environment, is that we think that, like you said, the way I married her and she looked like this, and now she doesn't. And that is a fact that women's bodies will change as she grows into her journey. And remembering that a woman's journey is sacred. Like these are sacred changes. These are not changes to be, what's the word that I'm looking for? Saddened, disappointed.
We're taken lightly. They're inevitable, really. If you're going to have children, if you're in a marriage and you're open to children and that's the goal, your body is going to change. Some women, quote, snap back better than others. And I'm just here to say, if you're a man and you're like, man, I wish sure she didn't look like that when we walked down the aisle. Well, don't worry, men. We know our bodies are changing, and that is a stressor to us.
Mm-hmm.
And any one of us women who is on any kind of social media gets an ad directed at if I get one more over 50 exercise wall Pilates ad on my phone, I might lose it. Like, hey, I know where I'm at.
Exactly.
So women have this constant pressure, and I'm here to tell you, men, nothing will make your wife a happier woman, ready to do almost anything and say, you know what, baby, you are so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And one of the reasons why we're doing this particular episode is that sometimes, depending on where a man family of origin, maybe they just had brothers maybe they didn't date very much, and maybe they took that biology class in high school, but never really had that conversation of what changes happen in a woman's body as she grows. And so I want to kind of break those areas, those stages down for men. So, of course, the first one is our menstrual cycles. We do change throughout the cycle, whether we're married or not. I mean, this might be a college young man that has a lot of friends that are girls, and he doesn't understand that. And as we go into marriage, practicing natural family planning, the body changes. The woman's body changes during each of those cycles. So when a man can understand natural family planning and understand her cycle and honor it, not, ugh, you know,
I mean,
whatever.
hey, as I said, if your spouse says, "Wow, you're so beautiful," how far that goes, but I dare you to please tell a woman, "You must be ready to start." Everything just flew off the rails.
Yes, yes,
It's
absolutely.
everything just flew off the rails. Abort
Even if
mission.
even if it is true, I mean,
It
it
might
is.
probably is true. You know, it probably is true. Most times that my husband's told me that, it's accurate. It
Yeah.
just is also infuriating.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So then we move into pregnancy, Lord willing, and infertility can also be one of those challenges as well, how the body changes. And not just the physical body, but the emotional and spiritual body of a woman when she's not able to conceive month after month. That can really play a toll on her as well. And
Mhm.
that is also where a woman needs the men's support because there's all kinds of drama. And trust me, as a coach that coaches infertile women and who had infertility for 7 years, I understand that aspect. But then when we do get pregnant and the changes of our body throughout that pregnancy, and then, of course, birth. And again, depending on how the birth, I mean, my daughter just gave birth and it ended up in an emergency C-section. It's not what she planned. So now she has, whatever. I'm sure I haven't talked to her very much about that, but you and I know we've spoken to women of our image and our thoughts about our birthing experience and our bodies postpartum,
Well,
right?
and that can be for both men and women. As a couple, if you go in with a quote birth plan, or maybe you do go to birth classes, maybe you're like, okay, we could do this. You know, you've got all the right quote tools and you think you've done all the right things. No matter what the outcome, you know, the best laid plans.
Yeah.
And what does make a difference in a woman's walk is if the man is supportive, like, we're going to get through this. You're going to be okay. You're safe. I'm here, not going anywhere, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And that can go from the girl that gets out of the car and delivers the baby, excuse me, 10 minutes after walking in the door, or it goes for any kind of, because birth is the most vulnerable a woman will ever be.
Yes. I want you to say that again. Birth.
Birth is the most vulnerable a woman will ever be. You literally, the only thing you can concentrate on is birthing your baby. There's nothing else going on in your world. And just to have your husband by your side saying, "You got this. I love you. I'm here. You're safe." No matter where the environment is, no matter what the situation ends up, it makes, I mean, it really truly does give the woman that extra oomph she needs to get through the trials of labor. I mean, and the Bible calls it trials of labor. It is, labor is called labor because it's work.
Mhm.
But I think we can go on to say that that is honestly women. I mean, we love that. That consolation throughout every span gives you hope because postpartum, that's a tough month, guys. That's a
Yes.
tough month.
Month.
It could be your first or your 12th kid. I mean, at
Mhm.
least by the 12th kid, you kind of know what's coming, but now you also know it's coming. So you're dreading it. I mean, it's a tough month. You're leaky and hormonal, and you're being pulled in at least three directions, you, your spouse, and your baby. And not to mention if there's more children, and your hormones are doing a drastic shift, and just your body shape. And again, you go to your mommy group and, oh, so and so had a baby 2 weeks ago and she's in her skinny jeans and you're over here still. Matter of fact, my shirt's a maternity shirt. So yay, we don't even know if she had the baby. You know, you know, and that's our mind drama. And it is drama because it's normal. All that, the girl that bounces back to skinny and the girl that doesn't, that has nothing to do with being quote good or bad. That I think is the problem. We equate a lot of womanhood. You're like, oh, I'm good or oh, I'm bad. No, your body shape is not good or bad.
Yeah, exactly, and going back to the supportive husband, I mean, I can't emphasize it enough. You've seen it, I've seen it, we've experienced it. when we have that husband that is supportive, is like you said, during birth, birth is the most vulnerable a woman will ever be. And when we have that support, that papa bear, that lion that protects, it can truly change. And I mean, because my daughter just had the baby just recently, like listening to her speak about her husband was so encouraging, but it also, like you said, it gave her the confidence that she could do it. And again, that postpartum, yes, that postpartum time can also be very confusing depending on which baby
Very
that is.
lonely, very
Very
lonely.
lonely.
In our society, many, many men have to go right back to work, and so there you are at home with a baby
Yes,
and no
exactly.
license.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And then breastfeeding also, when a woman chooses to breastfeed and a man, I mean, I'm just going to share a story. I remember with John, with my second child, but my firstborn son, I had such difficulty. And because my husband wanted to quote unquote fix things, his solution was, well, let me just, I've got the formula from the hospital. Now they don't do that, thanks be to God. But and it was an added stress because it was like, I don't want that's not the solution that I wanna go to, but part of the angst is men are fixers, and part of these sacred spaces of journeys is not to be fixed, it's to be reverenced and supported.
Presence over
Yes.
production, like,
Yes.
just being there and saying, "Gosh, I know this is hard, and you're working it, and let me walk the baby, and let me just take the baby in the front room for a little minute, let me see if we can get him calmed down." Just that kinda help alone. And words of affirmation, like, "You're doing it. You're doing great." I mean, that goes a long
Yes.
way because, a lot of times in a relationship when it's stressful, everybody clams up, and then your
Mhm.
brain starts going, and you start thinking thoughts, and you have the emotions, and you don't have the wherewithal to think, "Hey, that's just a crazy thought. Let me calm down."
Yeah. Yeah. And physical touch too, that can be
Yes.
so powerful, just
Just a
having
hand on
him.
your shoulder,
Yes, and even depending on sitting next
bringing a
to
snack.
bringing a snack, yes, absolutely, but sitting next to mama while she's trying to get baby on the breast, that physical touch, that physical nearness can speak volumes. It really can just make life better for her and a little bit easier for her to have that safety net, having that comfort, having that support of her man with her, trusting her, encouraging her, knowing that she is the best mother for this child. She has the capability.
And if you're hearing this, guys, this isn't all work for you because this work will reap so many benefits. Lucky for you guys, women don't need a whole lot usually, just these words of affirmation. A lot of underlying fears women, what if you leave? You can
Yeah.
walk out. and and
Yes.
and we're there with babies and kids and lives, and most women don't say, "Oh my gosh, that's what I'm afraid of," but way deep down that is a real fear. And so just your presence, knowing the safety is so huge, and that much will make your woman, you won't have to worry about, am I going to have dinner or whatever the thing is that you like, believe me, she'll do it.
Yeah, and I wanna lean in on that as far as that thought of, like, what if he leaves? It might not be a physical leaving, like, I'm divorcing you, I'm
Right.
separating, but it may be like, "I'm gonna check out because I'm gonna go watch my video games. You
Mhm.
go do your thing, and I'm gonna go do video games, or I'm gonna go watch TV, or I'm
Or
gonna go
stay
into
at
my
work longer.
or stay at work longer." That can also send huge messages of isolation, of loneliness, of unsupport, of I mean, the list goes on, right? So again, that physical presence, those words of affirmation, acknowledgement, the prayer. I mean, praying over our wives, that is hu
Yeah.
I mean, you and I could both get very emotional about that part. And then the next part, like raising the children. And again, depending on what the stage of the children are, there's always going to be self-doubt with the woman. She's gonna have her stress, you're gonna have your stress. But if we can work as a team, like you said, that the whole purpose is how do we build as a team working together? And I will say that is the saving grace that my husband has always gone to is like, whenever the problem has been, when he stops and says, we have to do this together, all of a sudden the problems kind of almost dissolve because it's like, no, we're united forces. We are united as one. We're going to get it together. We're going to deal with this, whatever the issue is as parenting goes, then we're not fighting against each other. And as parenting, I mean, kids pick up on that. Kids can really pick up on that and then they can manipulate the situation. Like, well, if I talk to dad about this, then he'll agree, but mom's against it or whatever the things are, right?
This also goes into why prayer is so important. If your marriage isn't founded with God in the middle, and a lot of us find that really hard. We weren't grown up with the habit of watching our parents pray together. And if you and your husband are at an impasse, just to say, hey, let's just take this to God and say, we're really struggling here.
Yeah.
Definitely, no matter what it is, whether it's parenting of kids, buying a house, anything, as long the thing is you're married and you are in it together. So you do have to form a united front, which biblically, the original sin, we fight that on the very base level. So it's our job to use our free will and say, man, I want to buck this guy. I want to do what I want to do. And say, hey, what do you think? Or let's just, what? We can't seem to come to agreement. Let's take this to God. Like, what, God, please show us the way. Please let us be gentle through this process.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're not going to get the answer right away. And
Hmm.
in a lot of our lives, that's our problem. We have this problem we want it fixed yesterday, and it's time. Some things are
Hmm.
time.
Yeah, it just brings up when you're talking about that as far as like we want the answer right away is that beautiful surrender prayer that Jen DeLacrosse promoted. She introduced it to me. I had heard about it, but there's this one, I don't remember which day, but it talks about the sick person getting worse. Is evil getting worse? Trust me. Don't look at the thing, but trust me, I will take care of it. How does it say? Like, I will create these, it's not mini miracles, but like almost invisible miracles. I will show up. Trust me, trust me, trust me. And that's the key is the three-ply cord. Like, let's take it back to the Lord. Let's take it back to the Lord. And going into scripture in the book of Tobit, Tobias, that is the thing that helped him
Yeah.
and Sarah. Like his
Yes.
father-in-law was like, well, love you. Nice meeting you. I probably won't see you tomorrow. We're going to dig your grave. But he saw the importance of prayer before they came to the wedding bed. And that's what it
Mhm.
took. Now, of course, that fish to get the demon out, that was also, but
I
again,
mean, they did have Raphael walking with them,
yeah,
so that was pretty dope.
yeah, that was.
So ask your guardian angels. It's probably not Raphael, but the guardian angels, they're just waiting around. I saw something so funny the other day that, hey, your guardian angels, they're just sitting around waiting to be asked.
I wanna really,
I
really
wonder
lean
what the
on that.
staff ratio is. Angel person.
Well, here's the thing, I was listening this is kind of a side note, but this is a really important aspect of how important invoking the spiritual partners that we have in heaven, the church triumphant. Our saints, our guardian angels made the willful choice. Yes, Father, you created me to be this person's guardian angel, and yes, I will do that. I think about that a lot, especially with my guardian angel. I'm like, man, thank you so much for agreeing to be my guardian because you've seen all the screw up I've done, and yet you're still there. Like, you want me to get to heaven more than I do. And that's one of those things like we have that we don't even, our men praying to our guardian angels, like, hey, guardian, wife's guardian
Man, don't
angel.
get worried. It could be quick. It could be in the car. Oh, hey, Vicky, dear Lord, please let Vicky's guardian angel step up today. If she hasn't asked, I'm asking for her.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Likewise. And this is the thing, like, once you get through, look, I'm a lover of Alan Jackson, and he's got a couple different songs that talk about one of the lines is, remember when the sound of little feet didn't determine our week to week? Huh.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so once you move through, once you make it, and you'll make it through the pregnancy, children years, and then here you are all of a sudden without these baby children, with your adult children, who, for the record, if y'all don't know, you do worry about them just as much, but now they truly have their own free will and they're out being adults. So that's a whole nother ball of wax and 6 podcasts. But now it's you and him again. And again, we go back to, wow, maybe my body's changed way differently. And maybe I am trying all things. Maybe I do walk every day and do my exercise and eat right, but I still am not the vision. You tell me I'm beautiful, but I don't feel I'm beautiful. And these are roles where men come in and our bodies change as far as intimacy goes. Desires change on both sides.
That's right. That's
And
right.
that takes a lot. I mean, that's scary communication, which sounds crazy because here you've built this life, you've had these children, you raise these children, and actually all throughout marriage. libido changes at different times, and that is something, I did raise my children, and I told them all, if you cannot talk about being intimate with the person you think you wanna be intimate with, bets are off. If you
Yeah.
can't talk about it, you can't do it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. When you're talking about that, it just brought back, last October, Steve and I celebrated our 38th anniversary and we went on that Grand Canyon trip.
Mhm.
And it was so beautiful because we're at a place, we're empty nesters. I mean, for all intents and purposes, we have a 20-year-old who's still going to college. So he's here for the summer, but really pretty much 24/7.
Like I
It's
said,
just,
you're not the beat of little feet does not drive your train.
yes. And yet there was this, we took pictures and blah, blah, blah. And there was a sense of acceptance. It was a sense of comfort, and really the image that comes is that crock pot, like that stew that's been sitting all day, and now you get to taste it, and it was a very, like, "This is who we are." We're not spring chickens. In our minds, we think we can do the whole loop, and we didn't get to do that because both of us couldn't physically do this, and yet there was this comfort, there was a camaraderie. It was an interesting experience that we don't talk about a lot, which is why I'm so excited about our program that we're running with our Catholic approach to living well in midlife. And it really is that aspect of like, this is an area that we don't talk about. We talk about preparing for marriage. We talk about early years of marriage. We don't talk about kind of almost like the end of marriage, not even the end of marriage, but like the full
The
season
second
of,
half of your life. We do a
yes,
lot of focus on the first half of adulting, not a lot of focus on the second half of adulting. I know this is a secular movie and a book, The Notebook, but I tease my husband and tell him all the time we have to die like the Notebook, so we do need to be talking to God together for my plan to work out. And no, but just a genuine love he has, and despite that she doesn't remember him, he is there every day, and that should be the standard even if we are all of sound mind. Like, we have
yes,
to be there every day. And we
yes,
have to be there and not take it personally. We were kinda talking before we started the podcast. So often, if either spouse comes in and is like, oh, you can tell. Even if they don't say that, you just know your spouse at this point, and you're like, "Okay, they're mad." So often, we're like, "Oh my god, what'd I do?" And so it's very natural to be like, "Well, why are you mad at me?" And then that a lot of times can incite, like, a, "I'm not mad at you." And then all of a sudden, you become mad at each other, which is not helpful in any way. So a question for either side is to be like, "What can I do for you right now?"
yes,
And not be offended if the answer is, "I just need to go take a shower."
yeah,
I just need a cup of coffee. I need fill in the
mhm,
blank, whatever the it is. I need to walk around
mhm,
the block real quick,
mhm,
within reason. If
and
if the answer is, "I'm gonna go to the bar all night," that's a different discussion.
yeah. But that's kind of one of the things that we've been talking about in our program about locus of control, honoring
Yes.
the other person's way of thinking, processing emotions, of actions, and honoring our own way of thinking and processing emotions. Like one of the very common things I coach women on is the fact that we have this misnomer that my husband's job is to fix my emotions.
Mm,
And that is something that I'm saying quite often to women, like, it's not your husband's responsibility to either fix your emotions, hold your emotions, change your emotions, care for your emotions. It's his job to honor your emotions, but it's our work, and it's his work to do his
exactly.
emotional work as well. But it's our work to do the interior work on the inside of what is this emotion? What are the thoughts that are invoking this emotion? Where does this emotion lead me? And that can be so beneficial, whether both spouses are on that path or not. When one of them is working on themselves, both of them become better.
Mhm.
And that's
That's
just
true.
kind of how it works. And I know you and I've had that conversation of like, well, that's unfair. And yet it,
But is it? Because ultimately, you're both working for the same goal.
yes, yes.
And,
And
this
yes,
is where Catholic coaching comes in, you guys. If you're hearing this and you're like, "These 2 are whack, there's no way. They don't know how my husband walks in the door," or, "They don't know how my wife acts when I walk in the door," or fill in the blank. For me, I'll speak really honestly, I think deep down, I get on the defense very quickly, like, "What are you saying about me?" And my husband's like, "Relájate, mama. I'm on your side, and you're over here freaking out." And so if this is a struggle, please DM us, call us. We would love to have a coffee chat and Start the process because as we say and say and say, this is not a one and done. Like one day you're gonna come in and he might see agitated and you're gonna, "What can I do for you?" And he's like, "Could you just get me some water?" And you do, and the whole situation diffuses and you'll be like, "When? That was when. Look at this." And like you have a decent night and then the next
Mhm.
night you try to do it and it doesn't work. Or the next night you're agitated and he's like, "Well, what's wrong with you?" That does not mean it's failure. I know for me, I fight that a lot. I want to one and done. Like, well, I did it. I went on a diet yesterday and I am still the same weight. This diet failed.
Yes. Well, and that goes back to our spiritual life, right? Which is
Yeah.
why it's so important to be grounded in the spiritual life. Like, not every single mass is full of graces and you're on a high
Mhm.
and you're on this mountaintop. Sometimes you go to mass and it's okay. Or you
Mhm.
don't see the great, like you said, I've prayed and expect these huge miracles, and that's not God. I mean, the little changes, which is why I love one of our exercises that we teach. Like, what did happen yesterday? What were the
The
successes from
wins.
yesterday? What are the wins from yesterday? And sometimes when we focus, it goes also with the examine that St. Ignatius teaches. What were the blessings? Because we don't see them. Our brain is naturally geared towards finding the danger, finding the worst case scenario, finding the
Mhm.
obstacles. And it's easy for us to get into that complaining. And I know for myself, it has been years where I have had to work on just stop complaining about my husband to others.
Mhm.
Because unfortunately, I was brought, and here's the thing, well, that's just the way we do things. Like, well, yeah, but you get to choose. Do I wanna choose to do that? Do I choose to badmouth my husband in public or whatever? Do I choose to focus on what he didn't do for me during labor rather than how he did serve me in labor or whatever the situation is? And that can also help us women to focus. And again, those words of affirmation. Thank you, honey, for getting that glass of water. Because again, our men have their own drama and their own internal wounds. And I have noticed, especially because I do coach a lot of young men, which is so amazing in their thoughts about themselves. I'm like, wow, men have these thoughts too. But their inadequacy, the fear that they're inadequate, that they can't live up to the role of a husband, the role of a father. And when we can acknowledge what they did do, whether it's up to the standard that we wanted, that's half the battle. Is, "Well, yeah, he did this, but." Like, "No,
Yeah, we
he
gotta
did
take out the
this."
butt.
We
We
gotta
gotta
take
take
out
out
the
the butts.
we acknowledge, like, "Thank you so much for holding my hand during labor." And what that does also is it kind of retrains our brain, and it retrains the memory, retrains the story that we've been telling ourselves about each of these different periods of our life.
One year, a long time ago, when we had very little money, a Valentine's gift I made for my husband, I took a deck of cards and I wrote 52 things I love about him and put it on a key ring, and he keeps it at his bedside no matter where he goes.
Wow.
And it was, I mean, y'all, 52 things, that's a lot.
That is a
But
lot.
that really made me sit and think, like, well, what is it? And just the little things, like, you know what, guys, I hate going to the store. He'll go 4 times in a night, not care. Then I will get stressed out that he doesn't care that he's going back to the store. And,
Now
and so I've learned to be like, if he says he'll go, then he'll go and just leave it and be like, "Thank you so much." So just interesting exercise. It doesn't even have to be an occasion.
that's right.
This is a gift that I think you could do for anyone, your kids or whatever. But
Yes.
anyway, to our men, because our men, I see my grown son that is a father, and he is an amazing husband and father. And the way they work together is pretty dang great. I mean, obviously, I don't pillow talk with them, but they're doing a great job, and even they have both come to me separately, like, "How will we know? Like, they're only 3 and 1, like, what if we're really screwing this up?" I'm like, "Well, I don't think you are,"
She
you know?
but then in reality,
I
we
mean, in
all
the
gonna
end, you
screw
will.
up.
You're gonna screw something up. However, it's gonna buff out.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Ho
a wonder question for you, Vicky. I love that idea of the 52 cards. Did you keep the 52 things for yourself to remind yourself of what you love about him?
No, but that is a great idea.
Because again, it's those things like, well, I said it once, and then again, our brain wants to go back to the complaining and the
Oh, no, I
and
love to look at it. I look at it all the time too. I'm looking at it because he's got it up here, he keeps it on the mantle, but you know what? A lot of them are still the same. Because sometimes in our marriage, we forget the kind man we married. We forget. Men forget the bride they married, that's why I
yeah.
love there's some people in their relationships, like, I've worked with a couple doctors that are in their 70s and they call their wife "my bride," and I'm like, "Oh, fangirl, like, how sweet." But they're still the same man. He's still that same good guy. He is a good guy. It's very easy in a marriage. I mean, again, the devil's working against us. So it does not take much to start thinking, well, he didn't do this and he didn't do that. And since he did this, I did that. And there you definitely need coaching. If that's your MO, please reach out to any Catholic coach. Pick one, but start, we're
That's
right
right.
here.
That's right. That's
Anyway.
right. We are. We are. Yeah, and that's so good about acknowledging and affirming the things that we do love about, like, why did I love that man? And I'll
Mm.
say the saving grace that God gave me that has kept me through many, many years and many trials is when we did get married, when Steve spoke his vows, he looked into my eyes and there was this moment, like literally I could feel it in my soul. And it was such a powerful moment that that's the moment, that's the saving grace that God brings up when we're at our lowest and there's thoughts of leaving or whatever, not talking to him or whatever the situation is. God will grant me that grace of bringing up that memory particular and kind of reminding me like, no, this is your guy. This
And
is
for
your
me,
guy.
Chris, he's very brave.
Mm,
Like, things that I'm terrified of, and I'm like, "We can't do this, we can't do this is impossible, we're doomed." He's like, "I'll go do it." I'm like, so I tell him all the time, "You're so brave." And it is, God grants me the grace, when I'm freaking out, like, "What's this guy even do for me?" A lot. He does a lot.
yeah.
And so, again, guys, we're just back here trying to remind you that you're awesome and incredible, and we know that women are a lot, and our bodies change, and our hormones change, and we might wanna have date night in the morning, and when you come home, we're like, "Hey, date night is off." So, thanks for loving us through it,
Yes, yes. Yeah,
and,
so we wanna just remind our men that a woman's journey is holy ground.
mhm.
If that thought can sustain you to remind you that when you're frustrated in her journey, whatever part of her journey she's in, that it's holy ground, that you're walking on holy ground, and that you men are called to be our protectors of our dignity, not to fix our discomfort.
Love that. Could
I
say that
do.
again.
Men, you are called to protect her dignity, not fix her discomfort.
Yes.
And supporting means listening, learning, praying, and just staying present.
Mhm,
Staying present. And just a final note, I love how you said the best question, like, how could I support you right now? How
mhm.
could I support you in this season? Offering and being open and curious of what does she need? And then, of course, again, the mothers, women, we're called to have that courage and that bravery and that vulnerability of actually speaking that support. Like,
And
I really
sometimes it
need
might be, "Will you just sit here with me?
yeah.
I've been nursing this baby for days, it feels
Mhm,
like,
mhm,
and
yeah,
I'm lonely."
mhm.
Or
Yes.
or there's a lot going on with their grown kids, and I don't know how to help them, and I've been praying, and I just feel really this kinda way, "Will you just be with me?"
Mhm,
But yes, you're right, Mama Jane, just women, when they ask, we have to have the courage to answer,
mhm.
honestly, or what's the point?
Yeah, yeah. So we wanna encourage you, if this resonated with you, please DM us. We'd love to offer some coaching with you. If you are part of a men's group, we would
Mm.
love to come and speak to you for a retreat or any kind of workshop for men and talking about this, because sometimes what we've noticed is one of the reasons why we chose to do this episode, and we're going to be kind of delving into this even more, is just men don't have the resources. They're not real sure where to go and ask the questions.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
we are here to support you, to support your wife, to support marriage, and to support Catholics just becoming growing in holiness.
mhm, amen.
So, as we close, we're just going to say a quick prayer. We want to offer, he's not a saint yet, Pietro Mola. He is the husband of Gianna Mola, who is a saint. And he was left as a widow with four small children, and he had to raise them on his own. He was always supportive. He was the quiet, supportive husband for Gianna so she could do the things that she was called to do. And yet, without his support, she wouldn't be the saint that she is. So we want to ask Pietro Mola to please pray for us. And St. Joseph, please pray for all of our men. Holy Spirit, we just ask you to pour out your gifts of wisdom, of knowledge, of understanding, of fortitude for our men to love the women in their lives, especially their wives, so that they can better support us so that we can become the best version of ourselves. It's a teamwork, it's compatibility, not a competition. We ask all of this in Jesus' most holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Till next week, divas. God
All
bless
right.
you.
Yes, God bless.
We hope you enjoyed this podcast. Go ahead and subscribe and share it to your best friends. And it would really help us if you wrote a review. Tell us how we're doing. We want to hear from you.
And come on over to our Facebook page at Cycles in Sanctity and join our conversation. That's where we can talk every day and make this podcast into what you want to hear.
See you next week, divas.